Was you trying to say that for them to hear the
Yeah,
last word?
you.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Okay, what's up, YouTube? One day I'm gonna get my intro together, y'all. Like one day I'm not gonna come on here discombobulated and ghetto as fuck. Today is not that day though. So today we have a special guest, right? We have my cousin, Miss T, Miss Sweet T. You wanna say hey? You wanna introduce yourself to the people?
Hey y'all, I go by Sweetie. My name is Tamerica, and I'm glad to be here. Not a special guest. Per.
Period. Wait, is that how you pronounce it? Sweet T? Like sweetie? You saying sweetie?
You can really pronounce it any way you want to. That's something I kind of like just went along with.
Okay, sweetie, period. Okay, I like that. I like that. Is you frozen? Am I frozen on your end?
No,
You can see me?
yeah,
For some reason you was frozen on my end. You moving
or maybe
now.
maybe I just look frozen.
I don't know. I wonder what they can hear. Yo, we just gonna look. We
Maybe
just
it's my Black Lives Matter shirt.
I don't know. I don't know what it. We just gonna keep it pushing. We gonna keep it pushing. I'm sure they can hear you if I can hear you. So it'll be all right. Okay, so as y'all can see by the title of the video, today we are discussing, right, how childhood trauma and experiences affects your adult relationships, right? So we getting into it. We get into a little deep, and I feel like this is a fitting title considering we are cousins. So we
Right,
probably have a lot of the same childhood traumas, like
right.
that. I think that's a good topic for us to delve into. So I'm gonna just kick it straight off. So the first question that I have written down is, without going into more detail than you feel comfortable with, are there any childhood experiences that still affect you to this day?
Right. There's definitely a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's a lot that we can say we brung from our childhood just because it's natural. It's natural. There's good things that's been brought, there's bad things that's been brought, right? I would say the number one thing for me that has affected me, and not just even in, per se, okay, let's open it up because a lot of people, when they say relationships, they mean, intimate relationships. I mean, like relationships in general,
Yeah.
friendships,
Mm-hmm.
relationships with my cousins, with my family. I would say like my biggest thing is communication.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with communication, and every time I sit down and I really truly think about like, when did this start? When did I start having the feeling of like, oh, I don't know how to communicate myself or communicate my feelings, or, get my point across the, correct way. When did that start? It always brings me back to childhood. So I would definitely
Mm-hmm.
say communication is one of the biggest things that has affected me.
And do you think it was a specific experience that caused you to struggle with communication?
No, so and this is crazy because me and my coworkers, let me just put this out here. I don't have any kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any kids, and a lot of people that are in my life or that I, on a daily basis communicate with does have kids. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually come around to this conversation a lot more than you would, think. Me and my coworkers talk about this all the time, and that just shows me that it wasn't just our family, it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
just the family that I grew up in. It looks like it's something that us as black people, and not saying it don't happen in other, families, but us as black people, we all kind of went through is, not being able to communicate themselves as a younger child.
Yeah.
We're taught, instead of being taught how to properly communicate, we're taught to only say the
Shut the hell
things
up.
right, shut up, or only say the things that I allow you to say. And
Mm-hmm.
that right there is not just in one experience, that's within my whole childhood.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not even one experience as far as like the whole communication thing that I can put, you know, down on it. I know as far as the communication thing, I know something that was big with me, which caused me to start shutting down, which is, you know, something I'm actively working on as an adult because I
Mhm.
see that it affected me as a child. Like I said, if you're not saying what the parent wants to hear, then you're taught to shut up.
Yeah.
So then once you get to my age and you feel like you're not saying what wants to be heard,
Mhm.
it's instantly just automatically in me to just be quiet because that's what I know from a child.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to, you know, work on being better with my communication and being better, you know, with expressing myself. And
Mhm.
I talk to my coworkers and the things, and they say this, you know, they've been through the same things
Yeah.
with their family not being able to express themselves and, you know, getting things across and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
know what caused me to, you know, get into that shutdown mode. One of the biggest situations, like as me being a child, was in school. You know,
Mhm.
you got that one teacher or that one principal that, you know, just goes above and beyond to make sure that your life is a little rough at home.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the only thing you feel like you can do is talk to your parents, but then that's when you're hit with the fact of, oh, if it ain't what they want to hear, then, you know, if it
Mhm.
ain't what they believe, you know, or something like that. So that right there, that whole situation with school and me not really being able to turn to no one because I felt like I was basically getting bullied by an adult at school, and
Mhm.
I didn't have that open communication line with my, you know, parents.
Yeah.
um, that obviously affected me as a kid looking to an adult, because now that I'm an adult, it's just like I feel like I have to fight so hard for myself.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand of it, because I'm like, one hand is like, if I don't fight, who gonna fight for me? If I don't speak up for me, who's gonna speak up for me? You know, all that.
Yeah.
Then on the other
Mhm.
hand, it's like, um, geez, I feel like I'm complaining when I vent, or I feel like
Yeah.
I'm, you know, or I
Yeah.
feel like
Because you're taught like that the fact that you are speaking up is an inconvenience to whoever you're speaking to. Like
exactly
exactly. Or like you're not grateful, you know.
right,
That's the
right,
thing that we hear a lot. It's like, oh, a lot of kids don't have this, or a lot of kids don't, just because I'm upset about something or something is making me uncomfortable
right.
doesn't mean that I'm not grateful, you
Right.
know?
And then what a lot of parents feel like fail to realize is that's the moment where you should be sitting down and talking to them and explaining to them that life is not perfect. You're not going to always get your way. You know, that's
Yeah,
the perfect time for you to sit down and openly communicate that to them, because when you
exactly.
react that way, they take it a certain way in their minds,
It's
you
like
know.
you just don't give a fuck.
And then once we're adults, we understand, you know, we understand the message. We still didn't like the way it was delivered, but we
Mhm.
understand the message. But even then, it's just like you don't fully know how to change you can't just change overnight, you
Exactly.
know. So then you were so used to being shut down and not communicating for so long that once you start realizing, oh, this is not healthy, it's not just the overnight thing. You got to really put in work to not have those habits that you had. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact. And that's something that I want to get into later because I think that's actually one of the questions is dealing with it. Um, but yeah, I definitely think that communication is something that a lot of people, again, like you said, I'm sure white people probably deal with this shit too. But I do think that there is a correlation within black families where there's certain shit that's considered taboo or considered disrespectful that's not considered disrespectful nowhere else. Right. And I seen that growing up because one of my closest friends as a kid, her mother was white, right? And I had another close friend who she was completely white. Both her parents are white. And shit that I would get in trouble for, I'm looking at them like, you can say that? Like, you about to say that? Like, you about to do
Right.
that?
Right. Like what?
Exactly. And I think, I don't know. I definitely see what you're saying as far as like it's really hard to isolate one specific situation because it's really like a entire environment and culture that you grew up in. And I think like my issue that I kind of just recently was able to recognize in myself is that I can be defensive. I can be hella fucking defensive. Like if somebody says something to me that, you know, maybe critiquing or like, you know, just them, they may not even be critiquing. It's just I'm so used to being picked apart and belittled and people fucking with me that I just instantly I'm kind of
Think that's what they're
on
doing.
edge, like you trying to fuck with me, right? And
you're
I don't.
so used to people. You're so used to people like hoping the worst out of you that when they hope the best out of you, you don't know how to take it.
Exactly. It's like, is you trying to be funny? You sure?
Right.
Like it's exactly that's one thing that flies out my mouth quick. Is like, oh, you trying to
be funny.
Exactly. Like because growing up, it was a lot of people trying to be fucking funny. And I remember like I said, it was a lot of different situations, but there are certain situations that really pop out more than others. Like I'm sure you remember the time that I got cussed out in front of everybody at Christmas dinner for being fucking gay, right?
Right.
Because shit like that, that's the type of shit that you probably don't deal with in like the average Caucasian household. Is like, first of all, why do you know this? Like, why did somebody feel the need to go and like tell you or like out me, right?
Why
And then
care?
and then exactly. And then why now? Like, why wouldn't you pull me to the side, have a conversation with me? If it was that big of a deal to you, like, why would you embarrass me in front of everybody? And you know what I'm saying? Or even, I went through depression. I like to depression and anxiety. I like to kind of toe the line with that because it's something that gets like brought up a lot lately. And everything is like, oh, depression, oh, anxiety, whatever. So when I was a teenager, I went through depression and anxiety, and I was seriously going to a fucking counselor. I was on medication. Like I was really having a hard time with not only my thoughts, but self-harm, self-medication, insomnia, all kinds of shit. And I just remember at that time, everybody was making fun of me. Like like niggas was spreading rumors in the family that I was a Satan worshiper and that I was in my room doing rituals and like just all kinds of weird shit. Like niggas just being funny, trying to make the situation into a joke. But not one single person really sat down and was like, are you okay? Like, are you cool? Do you need to talk to anybody? Like, what are you going through? And I feel like that kind of showed me growing up that people take you for a fucking joke. People don't really care. People don't take you seriously. Like you can literally be asking for help or you can be expressing your needs or how you feel about stuff and people aren't going to take you serious. So you might as well just keep it to your fucking self. Right. And then if somebody does make a certain comment, like I said, I've kind of just been conditioned to be like, you're trying to be funny. Like you're, you know, this is a joke to you.
Just like how I'm conditioned to shut down.
Exactly.
With certain stuff. And it's funny, well, it's not funny.
It's not funny, but
it's not funny. But
it's not.
But it's funny that you say that because like as far as like the whole family and things, because my childhood too. And so when your outlet was to do whatever you did, stay in a close room, not really interact with anybody, self-harm, things like that, I was on the opposite end of the stick, and I chose to run away from run away from
Yeah.
all that, right?
Hmm.
Like I got 3 runaways under my belt, like, so
Yeah.
I decided to be the opposite from that and be like, I'm not about to stick around and drive myself crazy enough to want to, hurt, want to do this, want to do that. I'm not, I can't be around this anymore, and I ran.
Yeah.
And like you said, instead of someone saying, "Hey, what is really going on with you?" And thank God I had my great, rest her soul, both my great grandma, and my grandma, on
Hmm.
my dad's side, had both of them like really come through and be those people, um, to say like, I don't care what it is, like I don't care, nothing to be that bad to the point where I don't love you, or I'm not, interested in
Yeah.
what's going on with you. And that's what made me realize, like, dang, I might have felt some way in that moment, but good thing that they sat me down, because now I do realize, okay, I do at least 2 people that care about,
Hmm.
um but yeah, it was a lot of people, which my story, I know yours. It was a lot of people who did not take that time to sit down, or to say the exact opposite. Instead of saying that they were there for me and saying that they're here to, if I want to vent, or if I just need to get away for a day and separate myself, anything like that. They were opposite of that. They were saying everything opposite of that. Um,
Exactly.
I can definitely understand, and it's crazy how we're just, I think it just comes from generational curses,
Hmm.
but it's just in them to respond to a child in pain like that.
Yeah. Even when you said like them even making it known that nothing you do is going to be bad enough for me to not love you. I think that that is
Mm-hmm.
important to have because conditional love is something that we seen a lot growing up. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
love you as long as you're doing exactly what I say to do, how I feel you should do it, at the time I feel you should do it. And the second that you do anything I don't agree with, oh, I'm your biggest enemy. To the point
Mm-hmm.
where I've had family members call CPS on me, call the
Mm-hmm.
cops on me, put their hands on me, like
Mm-hmm.
literally bash my fucking car windows out. That's the story time coming for y'all.
And I hope you do it. And I hope you do it.
Exactly, because that's a good ass story. Look, that's a good ass
Talk
story.
about you ain't got story time, girl. You got story time. Just
Yeah,
think. Just really think.
yeah, because that shit was wild. That shit was out of control. But what was crazy about that to me is it showed me like, damn, like people will literally damn near hate you just because they don't agree with something that you're doing with your life. Like you didn't even have to do nothing to them directly. Just because they don't like
Right.
some shit that you're doing, they will be so destructive and evil and belittling towards you. And but when you look at people, it's like, look at the shit y'all have done. Look at the
Right.
mistakes y'all have made.
Right. That'd be the biggest
Exactly.
part for me. Because
Exactly.
we was talking, and that's the thing. If they were to sit down before you have these kids,
Hmm.
if you were to sit down and really think, like, what are things that, because there's a lot of things that our parents do that we think, oh, you're just mean. But
Hmm.
then we grow up and we realize, oh,
Yeah.
that's why it makes sense. I appreciate you. I actually appreciate you for doing that. But then there are things that we're like, that affected me in a bad way.
Exactly. That
I
was
feel
not
like a
helpful.
lot of people are having kids and they're not thinking about this. Y'all are thinking about, oh, if I'm gonna let my daughter paint her nails at 11, or if
Yes,
I'm gonna let y'all
stupid
are
shit.
thinking about, you need to think about the generational curses that you want to break before you bring that child into before you even push that child out. You
Hmm.
really need to write a list and tell yourself, because like I said earlier, it's a generational curse, and we're
Yeah.
human, and no human is perfect. So if there's something that you want to better, It's not going to change overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just reality. It don't matter if you're a mom, a dad, a sister, a brother, a child, or whatever you are. Whatever you want to change in this moment, unless it's something like your hair, it's not going to change overnight. You know, and
Exactly.
something on the inside is not going to change overnight. So when you find out you're pregnant, when you find out that you're bringing another life into this world, you really need to sit down, take some time to yourself and think, what are things, and I'm not talking about hair colors, allowing my child to paint her nails, or what shorts they can wear. We're not talking about all the materialistic stuff, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about things that's going to make them a better human. What is
Exactly.
something that I could possibly transfer to my child that I don't want to transfer, or that I want to transfer differently? Because that whole communication thing is not bad, because we've seen the opposite side of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the opposite side of parents letting their kids talk any and every way, and we
Yeah,
see how it gets you. We've seen the
for sure.
side where you can't talk at all. So we've seen where that gets you. You need to, and this is what me and my coworkers talk about. It's not about it's not about, oh, let your kids talk back, let them argue with you, let them be disrespectful. No, teach them how to communicate respectfully and
Yeah.
properly. you know
Mm-hmm.
hey mom, can I talk to you? you know I feel like my teacher hasn't really, this and that, but you need to be open. You know,
Exactly.
you don't need to be like, why is you coming to talk to me about your teacher? You're a child. Why are you
Mm-hmm.
coming to talk to me about another adult? You're a child. That's
Yeah,
what we got growing up, right?
exactly.
But it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be don't, and then you
Because
get some.
adults can be dead fucking wrong too. Just because somebody's adult doesn't mean that they're right. And that's why a lot
Speak
of
on it.
kids end up getting physically, mentally abused by
Speak on it.
adults because you teaching them that no matter what, an adult is right.
Speak
So
on it.
exactly, exactly,
Speak on it. Which, when in reality, they need to teach children how to handle a adult being wrong.
exactly.
Instead of saying, adults never wrong, don't argue back, don't speak back. Teach them how to handle themselves in a situation where an adult is wrong.
That's a fact.
teach
That's a fact.
teach them to be able to be strong enough for themselves, to be like, for them to be like, they're comfortable with saying, this ain't right, but I'll talk to my mommy about it. You feel me? I
Exactly,
feel like that's a
exactly.
respectful way of saying, I don't like how you treat me, but also, I'm gonna speak.
Yeah, exactly. Let it be known.
So
And that kind of segues into the next question I had, which is when you think about these traumatic situations or these experiences that you've been through, do you think that there was anything that you could have done differently in the situation to make it less harmful for yourself or to just have made the situation play out better?
mm, you said, when I think, okay, my bad. Ask that question one more time.
So like when you think about some of the like traumatic experiences that you've been through,
Like from childhood, or
yeah,
like, okay,
childhood,
okay.
do you think that there was anything that you could have done better or like you could have done to handle the situation differently that would have made it play out a little bit less traumatic or overwhelming for yourself?
Oh, 100%.
Hmm.
100%. I feel like we all have those stories or even memories about when we got in trouble, some
Hmm.
stupid stuff we did when we was younger. Be like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have did that, or why did I do that? You ever think about a story of something you did that you got in trouble about when you were younger? Like, why did I? What made me even want to? You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So 100%. But do I feel like that's an excuse? Um,
No, it's
in this
not an excuse.
situation, not at all. And do I feel like it is the fault of a child? Not at all,
No.
because
Mm.
it's the parents response, the parent, and not even the parents. That's a lot of things a lot of people need to get through their minds as well.
Mm-hmm.
This not just falls on the parent. The way that I act around another child is the way that I want somebody to act around my child, right?
Yeah.
So it's not even the, because a lot, and that's what this generation goes in a lot. Oh, parent this, parent that, parent that. A lot of kids get stuff from their auntie.
Yeah.
I taught my niece some stuff when I was, and laugh and be like, "Yep, tell your mommy when
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
some people are taught by their big cousin,
Mm-hmm.
their big cousin influence. I remember, you know, uh, scenarios and stuff, me learning stuff from you, my other big cousin, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, and it didn't come from my parent, you know.
Yeah.
So I think this is something adults as a whole, I'm not even going to say parents,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I feel like a lot of people are doing, is just putting it on the parents. We all need to take accountability. If
Yeah.
you're
Adults as a
ever
whole. Yeah.
putting, as an adult, if you're putting yourself around a child,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to take accountability.
Yeah, and I think
If,
that's the fact because some of the most like fucked up experiences I've been through as a kid
was
had nothing to
not
do with grandma. Like it had
right,
nothing to do with my parent. It was aunties and shit like overstepping boundaries at the wrong time and in the wrong way that really ended up being the most detrimental. And
right, traumatic,
sometimes it was just the parent not protecting you from that
right,
under the guise of, like we said earlier, well, that's an adult. But are you paying
right,
attention to what this adult is saying to your child and how
right,
this adult is treating your child?
right.
And but at least to answer the question myself, I do feel like there was times where like oop, hello? You still there?
I'm sorry, I got a call. I
Oh,
got a
I was gonna say, why the screen go black? But yeah, so there was times where like, and my grandma used to piss me off with this shit. Like, because she would always tell me like, oh, go the other way. If somebody doing something that you don't like or somebody trying to argue with you, don't sit there and argue. And listen, I did not listen. Like, because no, like, why are they disrespecting me? Why are they coming at me like that? Why are they coming at me? Why are they picking on me? And so I would get defensive and defend myself and argue back and forth and escalate the situation. And don't get me wrong, they were coming for me. They were attacking me. They were being assholes and childish as an adult. But what I should have understood, or like what I would want my child to understand, is it's not personal. If somebody's an asshole, it's because they're an asshole. And wait, I think you muted. I can't hear you. I think when you sometime when you took the call and came back, it like did something. No, hold on. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Hold on. 1 second, y'all. Give us a brief moment. We'll be back.